Stop being racist.
I was here first. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
Don't touch me up.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. So in North Carolina, a woman named Brittany Lynn, who was unarmed, was shot by Gastonia Police in her own house in front of her children. So let's see how a woman in her own house can get shot by the police.
For the first time tonight, we're hearing from the Gastonia Police chief after one of his officers shot an innocent woman 3 times.
Reporter Ken Lemon questioned him about calls for that officer to be fired.
The chief says he's not talked to Officer Stephen Whisnant, who is still on administrative leave. The chief spoke with me between appointments by phone today.
We hate that this has happened.
Chief Helton said he is open to the idea of talking to Brittany Lynn, the unarmed woman shot in her home by a first-year officer with her children yards away. The district attorney called it an accidental shooting, but the chief wouldn't comment on the DA's assessment.
I think it'd be preliminary for me to give an opinion or come to any conclusions on what took place yet because I've not seen everything and heard all the statements.
Police went to the house on Gray Street to arrest Brittany's brother, Jarvis Lynn, who was wanted on unrelated charges. Brittany said she opened the door for Officer Whisnant with her hands in the air, and he opened fire. She said she was shot 3 times. The chief says he's relying on an SBI investigation to sort out the details.
I want them to be thorough. I want them to look at everything. I want to make sure that we have done everything that we should.
When they chased him around there, a few seconds later, I heard a gunfire, pow. And I sat on the porch, duck and tuck a little bit. And then I guess about 5 minutes later, they brought a lady around here. They brought her over here and put her on the curb.
According to arrest warrants, Jarvis Lynn had a gun and refused to lower it, but family members say he never had a gun in the house and didn't resist officers.
So Gastonia, you got some cleaning up to do.
The department has taken a lot of heat from people who want Officer Whisnant fired and say police need to rebuild public trust.
Our efforts at the police department is to serve the entire community. It's something that we're going to have to work through, and of course we'll be accountable in the end for our actions.
There's body camera video of the shooting that's being reviewed by the SBI. They will submit a complete report to the DA, and he will decide if charges will be filed against Officer Whisnant. The DA says that decision could take hours or months, depending on questions he may have after he receives the report.
So the Gastonia Police say they got a noise complaint about loud music. And when Officer Stephen Whisnant showed up, they saw her brother Jarvis Lynn outside, and he had warrants, so he ran in the house. Now, I don't know how the police knew who this brother was and if he had warrants when they were only there because they got a noise complaint. But either way, the police chased him to the house, and this sister Brittany Lynn went out of her way to tell the cops that she was unarmed and she had kids in the house. And when she opened the door and made sure she put her hands in the air, after she was very clear about what she was doing, this cop Stephen Whisnant still shot her 3 times. The police tried to say they only fired once, but I'm pretty sure she knows how many bullet wounds she has. Now they shot this woman who was obviously unarmed 3 times and lied about it for whatever reason, but they said it was because her brother was armed and pointing the gun at the police. They even said he shot at the police first. But not only is there no evidence for that, like no bullet holes or anything, everybody who was a witness in the house say that story is not true. The police said they found a gun, but the gun they found was outside. Nobody in the house was armed. And definitely not this sister Brittany Lynn, who wasn't even the suspect in the first place.
At the center of an officer-involved shooting that happened earlier this month in Gastonia, speaking publicly for the first time to us tonight. In an interview with Jarvis Lynn, the man who was arrested after Gastonia Police say fired his gun at officers first, talking exclusively to WBTV. Tonight, Bria Bell is joining us live, talking about more about Lynn's side of the story. Bria, what did he have to say?
Ben, it was about 2 weeks ago when Gastonia police officers stopped at this house on South Gray Street for a noise disturbance call. Things quickly took a turn when Jarvis Lynn's sister was shot by a Gastonia police officer. It's a situation officials say escalated because Jarvis shot at police officers, but Jarvis says that's not true.
This was where the gun was located, but this right here was it was located right there.
Jarvis Lynn says this is the door a Gastonia police officer shot into when he hit his sister Brittany Lynn in the chest with bullets.
Only thing I hear is, oh, they done shot me.
According to SBI officials who are investigating the shooting, it was Officer Stephen Whisnant who pulled his trigger. Gastonia police say the officer only fired off his gun after Jarvis, who was a convicted felon for previous drug charges that date back to 2010, started shooting first. Jarvis says that couldn't have happened because officers only retrieved one gun from the scene, the gun that was found outside the home, and none of his family members had weapons. Officer Whisnant is on paid administrative leave while the investigation continues.
From my understanding, that's what they saying, that I waved a gun at him. He asked me numerous times to put down my weapon. I never heard none of that. I didn't even have no weapon in my hand for him to even say anything about it.
Jarvis admitted he first had contact with police while standing outside in the front yard, but went inside to grab his mother to speak with officers because he was a felon with outstanding warrants for assault.
I already knew I was going to jail, period. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no need to even have no words with them at all because I had warrants. I was going to jail regardless.
Jarvis says he has no problem facing the past charges that's pinned against him. But he and civil rights activist John Barnett just want to make sure Officer Whisnant has his day in court too, as Brittany Lynn is still trying to recover from her injuries.
We're still asking that officer be fired.
Gaston County D.A Locke Bell has called the shooting an accident and says that Brittany was not the intended target.
So not that it has anything to do with shooting an innocent woman who had her hands up and was just opening the door for the cops. And it seems like just opening the door for the cops can get you killed. Just ask the sister Bettie Jones, who was shot by Chicago police. The only thing she did was go to open the door for the cops. But they still had to bring up her brother's record to take away from them killing an innocent woman. They repeat over and over that he was a felon from a non-violent drug charge that he got in 2010. But drug take-back day wasn't available for brothers like Jarvis Lynn. And they love to talk about the crime statistics. But this brother is a felon and did more time for drugs than white men have gotten for molesting children or white women for hanging babies. They get probation for attempted murder. We get the war on drugs and mandatory sentences. And they try to use her brother's history to deflect from their violence and actually shooting an innocent woman. Then after all that, the D.A Locke Bell told the family that the shooting was an accident.
We've got some breaking new details now tonight after Gastonia Police shot a mother inside of her own home. Tonight, the Gaston County District Attorney says that shooting was an accident. It happened around 11:30 last night at a home on South Gray Street, and that is where we find NBC Charlotte's Brandon Goldner live at 5. And I think, Brandon, the question on everyone's mind is, how did this happen?
Well, Rachel, there are really three different perspectives that we're going to present to you about what happened. What we do know is police say they were called to a noise complaint at this home right here. And then at some point, an officer fired his gun, hitting a woman. And so these are the three perspectives we're getting from all the documents, video, and interviews we gathered. The woman shot by a Gastonia police officer screamed and cursed as these firefighters tended to her. Meanwhile, Daniel Ramsey streamed this all on Facebook Live.
They brought her over here and put her on the curb.
He says he was on his porch when officers pulled up to the home across from him. He says they then began chasing a man.
When they chased him around there, a few seconds later, I heard a gunfire, pow. And I sat on the porch, duck and tuck a little bit. And then I guess about 5 minutes later, they brought a lady around here.
Gaston County District Attorney Locke Bell says that woman, who police identified as Brittany Lynn, was accidentally shot. Investigators say when officers arrived at the home, they encountered Jarvis Lynn, who was armed with a .45 caliber firearm. According to the arrest warrant, because Lynn is a convicted felon, he's not supposed to carry a gun. Officers say they ordered Lynn to drop it, but he refused. Investigators say an officer fired his service weapon, accidentally hitting his relative, Brittany Lynn, who was inside the home as this was all happening.
We are just beginning an investigation. The investigation will take a long time to get all the information that I've requested.
My name's Officer from Annapolis City Police.
But Brittany Lynn claims this investigation is misleading. And Brittany Lynn wouldn't go on camera for us, but she did talk to us a little bit off camera, so we'll show you what we saw right here. She says that as she was walking in, she saw it through this back door right over here. She says that as officers were walking through to her property, she says she was going to let the officers in through that door. She says at some point as she was opening up, that's when officers fired the gunshot. She claims right as she opened the door, because she had children inside, she wanted to tell them that she wanted to make sure her kids were okay before letting officers inside. She said officers fired it just willy-nilly, if you will. So right now, it's ultimately going to be up to the district attorney and the SBI to determine what exactly happened at this home.
Now, following some breaking news in Gastonia, the family and supporters of a woman shot Sunday night by a police officer demand that officer be fired. WBTV's Bria Bell joins us live from Gastonia right now. Bria, tell us what the family is saying about this shooting.
Paul, well, the family says they're taking it one day at a time, and it's been hard because kids were inside the home during the shooting. The family also says the woman who was shot had her hands up and yelled, "Don't shoot." And her brother, who is accused of shooting at officers, didn't have a gun. And now the family is filing a lawsuit against Gastonia Police Department.
No justice.
No justice.
No peace.
No peace.
Hands up.
Hands up.
Don't shoot.
Don't shoot.
The chants you hear, led by civil rights activist John Barnett, comes just days after Brittany Lynn was shot by a Gastonia police officer. That officer in question is Stephen Whisnant, who has been with the department since September and was immediately placed on paid administrative leave.
Because in Bank of America, if you do something wrong, they fire you. Work at Bojangles, you do something wrong, they fire you.
Barnett is speaking on behalf of Brittany Lynn, who is still so emotional from Sunday's events. She is in the process of getting an attorney to file a lawsuit against the city for the shooting. This all started when police showed up to this house on South Gray Street for a noise disturbance call. Some neighbors say someone was playing loud music at the end of the block. But what led police to target this home is still in question. But officers say when they arrived, Jarvis Lynn, who is a convicted felon for previous drug charges, started shooting at them, and they fired back, hitting Brittany in the process. Jarvis was arrested and appeared in court today as he had outstanding warrants for assault. His family, including Brittany, was there for the whole thing. As Lynn has to face the justice system for charges pinned against him, the Lynn family is hoping Gastonia police officer Stephen Whisnant will be forced to do the same, as Gaston County District Attorney Locke Bell has already described the shooting as, quote, an accident, and said that Brittany was not the intended target. Barnett believes race played a role in why things unfolded the way they did.
So, Gastonia, you're making me sick. You need more diversity on your police force.
Now, this D.A Locke Bell still can't say or decide whether he'll press charges on the cop or not, but he can say he knows it was an accident, meaning those bullets weren't meant for a black woman. They were meant for the black man, and they were meant to kill. It was an accident to shoot this woman, but the police can accidentally shoot innocent people and get away with it. And the police actually do have body camera footage of what happened, but they won't release it. It's just interesting the times they decide to release it and the times they don't. And as much caping as they were doing for the cops, they're still supposed to be investigating, and they gave this cop his paid vacation. This cop, Stephen Whisnant, couldn't even make it a year before he shot an innocent black person. And notice, more and more of these shootings are done by rookie cops. They deputize their people with the right mentality and give them a gun and a badge and the backing of the American government. And when they shoot somebody, they call it legal because they say so. And meanwhile, this brother Jarvis Lynn and a lot of brothers get caught up on drug charges and they become felons and they can't carry guns anymore. and they successfully unarm you because they say so, and they continue to arm themselves while they disarm us. And there is a report about how the KKK infiltrated the police. But the truth is, if anything, it's the other way around, and good cops may have infiltrated the KKK. The police was started as a racist organization, and the police are brought to you by the same people who created the KKK. That was the police original function, to keep niggas in line. And even though now we have the illusion of inclusion, all of these years later, it's still the same story. At some point, we're going to realize we already know what we have to do. We're just going to have to stop being scared to do it. We have to set aside our tribalisms in order to protect ourselves and to protect our children and to protect our family. If not, we're going to continue to be subject to their laws, their rules, and their punishment, and whatever they say goes.
She's shot. Yeah, she's shot. Wow.
Did you guys see anything?
I just seen the police come up, and I seen somebody run, and I heard a gunfire. I bet
Gunfire?
Yeah, your lady's shot right there.
She shot?
Yeah.
Where's this at? Where is this happening at?
Yeah, she's shot. Police one pulled up right there, and he jumped out and hollered at somebody across the road, and they took off running. And then I heard they ran around the house, and I heard a gunshot, and then she was opening the door, I guess, and they shot her. They shot her. She shot her. Yeah, they're everywhere. They shot her. Yeah, they shot her.
But it is a shot at you. That's what I'm talking about. Motherfuckers talk about these two things. No, fuck this. You're not gonna know. You're not gonna know what the water is.
I don't know if any exit wound or not. He cut her shirt off.
I'm not going to just y'all think about that motherfucker. I told that motherfucker outside, open the door for him. As soon as I said that motherfucker fired the shot. You could have shot him, you could have did that before I opened the shot. But you got to do a gap, you worry. That motherfucker going in.
There 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Police cars everywhere.
We do know that we can state that there apparently was a call for loud noise, I think, down the street. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And I believe that your brother seen the police, and similar to Ray Carew for O.J. Simpson, when Afro-American men have charges, they run. I used to run too back in the days. So he ran in the house. Now there was been some rumors that he was pointing a gun. He didn't drop the gun because for whatever reason, and that's why shots were fired. We're gonna let you all know that that's not true. He was actually sitting on the couch inside this home here. We have witnesses. I'm gonna get some statements. I'm gonna get them notarized. I'm gonna give them to my lawyer. The mother can attest to that. I think her nephew, and of course his sister. So we want to get rid of that rumor that he was pointing a gun at anyone. I'm appalled at the fact that they would take matters in their own hand. This young lady lifted both of her hands up. And as I attended the funeral of Michael Brown, I remember that they used to say hands up, don't shoot. Well, maybe she's seen some of the footage on CNN. So she lifted up her hands. She said, I have kids in this house and I'm coming out with my hands up. And yet a bullet still rang through the back door, several bullets. She was, luckily, she didn't die from these gunshot wounds. But I do know that it's a blessing that she's alive. Now, I asked her last night, I asked her mother, so how did the bullet go through the door and not through your chest? And she said it had to be the blood of Jesus. Amen? Yes. So we're asking, first request is that Officer Cutts, I think that's his name, that he do not be suspended with pay, that he be terminated. We're asking for termination of this particular officer. And why I say that? Because there's a lot of rookie cops in Charlotte, in Gastonia, Atlanta, where I travel, Mississippi. A lot of rookie cops, and it seems as though they get a little nervous and trigger happy. I believe these shots rang out so fast because he actually had his...
So you're saying what was said in the arrest warrant that he did not comply with officers' demands. Are you saying that's fabrication by officers? Are you saying, because that's what the arrest warrant says, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm actually going by the thoughts of this young lady, who, unlike some of the officers who were in the car and hiding behind the bushes, she was inside the home. And my conversation with her over an hour yesterday, I believe this particular story. Because I do know that in this particular country, similar to Walter Scott, we can see that things can be taken the wrong way.
Calm down. Calm down.
They was calm until they came and he told me somebody calm down, honey. What's he punching him for?
Because he just tried to squeeze my testicles.
I don't know. I just saw you punch him.
I need to go to him. How long? I've been back 25 years. Oh no. Come on. Now you sit down. Come on. Sit down now, y'all.
Sit down.
Hell no.
Stand up.
Now you sit down. Sit down. Michaela, come on. You okay? Yo, I'm trying to get you. Go put your hands in my stomach.
Look at his right here.
Calm down.
Come here, little mama. Little mama. Stop.
Unlock the car door.
Stop hitting me. Go sit down.
You.
Sit down.
You. Police.
Stop.
Unlock
You
the car.
stop. You stop kicking.
What?
Stop kicking.
My fucking head.
There you go. Yep, he punched him.
He only like 11. He's no older than 12.
Yo, I'm about to send this kid to the fucking hospital.
Well.
You're right, H.
Who's his
Just
lieutenant?
my fucking face. If I see him again, I'm gonna beat the shit out.
Oh, really?
Am I being arrested for anything I'm doing?
No, at this time you're not being arrested.
I didn't do it. Did I do anything wrong?
Sir, they're a private business, and as a private business, they can ask you to leave.
Did I do anything wrong, though? I'm asking you.
They ask you to leave.
So I'm asking you, did I do anything wrong?
You just need to leave.
I didn't do anything. I didn't come with them. I did not come with them. I came by myself.
Okay. Then you can leave by yourself.
I'm actually, did I do anything wrong? And is I'm arrested for anything I'm doing wrong?
You're not under arrest, no.
So, are you refusing my service?
Yes.
Why are you refusing my service? Because I'm black?
Okay,
Answer this question. Because I'm black?
You're the only one that's bringing race into it.
I sat here first.
Okay.
There's no problem for me sitting right here.
And we're going to refuse you service, so you need to leave.
You cannot refuse somebody's service.
Okay.
Are you on duty? I need to speak to an active supervisor for the night. Okay. I am a taxpayer, Saginaw Township resident.
Okay.
I pay my taxes.
Okay.
I was here sitting here first.
Okay.
Whatever happened, happened. I was not around what happened.
All right.
Sir, I am the on-duty supervisor.
I understand that, but what
Would you let
what
me
did I
finish?
do wrong? What did
Are
I
you
do
gonna
wrong?
let me finish? I came over here for a totally separate call. He is security for IHOP. He has asked you to leave. If you refuse to leave, you will be arrested for trespassing.
How am I being arrested? What did I do wrong?
Right now, you're refusing to leave. That's what you're doing wrong. It's called trespassing.
That's called racist.
No, sir, it's not called racist.
That is
It's
called
A
racist.
private business has come over
I didn't do
and asked
anything
you to
wrong.
leave.
What did I do wrong? Can you show me what I did
The
wrong?
manager came over and said you were being disorderly. You were.
Did
being
no manager came over?
Sir, you keep interrupting me.
Sergeant.
Sir.
Ma'am.
The manager came over and asked
No, she did not.
The manager came over and told us.
Can you please?
You were being
Can
disorderly.
you give me the manager?
No.
We're past that.
We're past that. It's time to leave.
What did I do wrong?
Sir, right now, what you're doing wrong is you're refusing to leave.
So I'm being arrested?
No, you're not being arrested. If you choose to get up and walk out the door, and we are giving you every opportunity.
So that is a racist judgment towards me because I am black.
No, sir.
I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong in here.
You're the one bringing race into this.
Because I am.
So I've now asked you at least twice to leave. So I'm going to tell you one more time, you need to leave or you can be arrested.
Well, a Bay Area woman says a popular supermarket chain accused her family of shoplifting because they're African American. Night Beat's Maria Medina is in Mountain View with what happened after 911 was called.
On her free time, Erica Martin says she gives care packages to the homeless.
It makes me feel good.
Including one man who frequents the Safeway off Shoreline Boulevard in Mountain View.
That day, I just decided to go give him some dog food for his dog.
That day was a Sunday evening earlier this month, a day she'll now never forget.
The police just blocks me in. I'm like, what is going on?
Erica says she found herself suddenly defending herself to several officers who told her Safeway employees accused her of theft.
And then she was like, well, we were called here because you fit the description of someone taking items out of Safeway and bringing it back to your car. I'm like,
Erica says Safeway workers thought she was conspiring with an African-American man and that a group of kids were also shoplifting and bringing items to her car. She says her little boy had gone to the deli to see if they were giving away cookie samples, as he's done many times before, and was now sitting in their car frightened and emotional.
And he was like crying because he thought they were there to arrest him.
The thing is, Erica never stepped foot inside Safeway. In fact, she says she never got out of her car. Erica says she wasn't wearing the shirt reported to police. She was wearing this religious shirt instead. And she claims she was listening to gospel music and talking to her sisters, who'd also dropped off items to a homeless man. Her sister recorded this video of the incident.
Accusing her of stealing, and she was in her car the whole time.
Police say Erica and her family were helpful and calm and realized Safeway workers got it all wrong.
Racism still exists.
But the damage, she says, was already done.
I blame the Safeway employees, and for them to do something like that to me is just hurtful and shameful.
Will you ever go back to that Safeway?
I am not going back to that Safeway, ever.
Erica says a store manager apologized for what happened and that she'd be getting a call from corporate. She's still waiting on that call. A spokesperson for Safeway did return our request and said workers called 911 because a man who'd stolen here before had returned, but they're still investigating as to why police questioned Erica and her family that day.
The incident report employees filed with the police allege a well-choreographed heist with multiple thieves, distractions, and signals. It's like Ocean Spray 11. Nope, instead of justice, they're getting a hefty bucket of shame. Of course, since there's no single employee on camera having called the police, we don't get a barbecue Becky or a permit Patty this run. But if there's an entire company that embodies the essence of disgruntled pearl-clutching white woman, it's Safeway. By the way, the initial police call, which singled out a black man in his 30s as a shoplifting suspect, was found by police to have not stolen anything either. I kind of feel like maybe the Safeway employees are possibly snagging things and just blaming it on other people. A representative of Safeway told the Mountain View Voice that they have apologized and been in contact with the customer involved in the incident. That customer must be the misidentified black man, since Erica says she's still waiting for that phone call. Safeway hasn't mentioned the incident on Twitter, but people are certainly tweeting at them. Author Kurt Eichenwald said Erica is only guilty of being charitable while black.